All right, guys, our set of notes for tonight is entitled Ratifying the Constitution. So, to recap where we've been in the during the Revolutionary War and the early years of the United States, the government of these United States was the Articles of Confederation. And the Articles of Confederation was set up intentionally to have a very weak very weak national government, so it couldn't impose taxes. However, there are issues with this government, and so there is a convention called to deal with these issues. And eventually this convention decides to begin the process of writing a new government, a new constitution of the United States. And that's where we left off yesterday. So now we're looking at how does this Constitution become ratified or approved to become the government of the United States. Well, once the Constitution was passed by the Constitutional Convention, it went to each individual state for a vote. And each individual state had its own convention where prominent leaders of those states would come together and cast a vote in favor of or against this new Constitution. In order for the Constitution to be ratified or approved, 9 out of the 13 states had to approve it. And there are 2 main groups arguing over the Constitution. The first group are the Federalists. The Federalists were those who favored a federal system where you have a strong national government that would share power with the states. And this group believed that the Constitution would be able to keep the national government's power limited, all right, keep that power in check through the system of checks and balances between the 3 separate branches of government. The other group in this debate were the Anti-Federalists. The Anti-Federalists took a different position. They favored a weaker national government, one like we had under the Articles of Confederation. They were very concerned that a strong national government would overpower the states' governments and trample on people's rights. So, several states were worried that the Constitution did not include a Bill of Rights. Anti-Federalists felt that the Constitution didn't protect citizens' rights and freedoms from the national government, and they wanted guarantees that these rights were written into the Constitution so that the national government couldn't infringe upon these rights and freedoms. Specifically, they were concerned about freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, and the right to a trial by jury. So, there's debates going back and forth between these Federalist and Anti-Federalist groups. And this is taking months. Most of these debates are happening at these conventions. There's also very prominent leaders writing letters or to be published in newspapers for people to read. And eventually a deal is kind of struck where the Federalists agreed that they would add the protections that the Anti-Federalists wanted to the Constitution, even though they didn't think they were necessary. When they did that, all of the remaining states who had yet to ratify the Constitution agreed to do so. By 1791, 10 amendments had been added to the Constitution that specifically protect individual rights and freedoms. These first 10 amendments are what we call the Bill of Rights. So for tonight's response question, I want you to think, which side, the Federalists or the Anti-Federalists, made the best arguments? And why do you think this? Make sure you're specific. Use your information in your notes to help you. Have your notes printed off and ready to go for class tomorrow.